In the last episode, we positioned many objects in a grid. We created columns and rows of objects. Let's continue working on this topic. I'm gonna start again here creating a while loop. Float x equals 0, and while x is less than 3, do something. And I will increase x. This while loop is a little bit different, and in our last episode we went from 0 to the width of our screen. So we were counting pixels. Now we are just counting elements. Let's just print here x and see what happens. And you can see we are increasing from 0 to 1 to 2, and then it's over. We start with 0, and while x is less than 3, we print x and we increase x by 1. So I can copy this and make here down another loop with another variable, which will be y. And again, I'm gonna do exactly the same. I'm counting again to 3. So now you can see the program just counts 0, 1, 2, and then 0, 1, 2, using 2 different variables. So whatever you find here inside is gonna execute 3 times. So I can put here something else. This something will run multiple times. So what we did the other day is just we can copy this loop and put it there. Because this thing is gonna run multiple times, then I just had here my loop. I'm gonna press Ctrl T to format this in a nicer way. I hope you can see that we are gonna run this first loop 3 times, and for each x, for x being equal to 0, we're gonna run this other loop. So when x is 0, y will be first 0, then 1, then 2. Then when x is 1, y will be 0, 1, and 2. And then finally when x is 2, then y will again increase from 0 to 1 to 2. We could print all these values here. I can print, for example, x colon, and I will print, well, this is printing some text. Here I'm printing the variable x. Now here I'm printing space y colon, and then I print the variable y. And finally I will just print an empty line with print ln, so we don't get everything in a huge line. So now if I run this program, you can see what I was talking about. When we start, first x is 0 all at the beginning of the program. So x is 0, and then y goes from 0 to 1 to 2. Then x increases to 1, and again y goes from 0 to 1 to 2, and finally the last loop for x is 2, and then y is 0, 1, and 2. So because we are counting 3 elements in each direction, the total is 9. We are making a grid of 3 times 3. Imagine a chessboard has 8, we could type here 8 and 8 elements. So it's a total of 64. Well, you will now see this here, but it's hard to follow because there's so many x and y variables here. So I'm gonna just delete these prints here, and let's do something more interesting. We can generate some graphics. So I'm gonna borrow some code from the previous episode where we were drawing this rotating rectangle. It's just these 6 lines. I'm gonna copy them, and I'm gonna paste them inside here my program. And because we are gonna be doing an animation, then let's add a setup function. And also I will add a draw function, void draw. I'm gonna remove the spaces so this fits in our screen. And now I'm gonna press Ctrl T to just add some spaces here. So now I'm gonna be doing these loops for each frame. Each time draw is called, I'm gonna draw 64 objects on the screen. In our setup, let's add some color to the background. 100 to 150, for example. I will make it smooth so the graphics look a little bit better. I will remove the border, no stroke, and I think that's it for now. If I want to create lots of rotating rectangles, right here I should call this function, draw rotating rectangle. Before we were just printing, now I'm just going to draw lots of rectangles. And you can see it takes 3 parameters. I'm gonna add here the 4th parameter, which is r, the rotation, float r. So we can have a different rotation for each rectangle. But okay, let's fill the parameters in our call to draw a rotating rectangle. So the first 2 are x and y. I'm sending this variable, but this would be a little bit of a problem because x is only increasing 1 unit at a time. So it will go from 0, 1, 2, 3. If we draw a rectangle so close, you will not be able to distinguish one from the other. So we need to separate them somehow. If we multiply here by some value, for example 30 and 30, then you can see this product, it will increase in steps of 30. When x is 0, this whole thing is 0. When x is 1, the product is 30. If it's 2, it will be 60. So now each rotating rectangle is separated 30 pixels horizontally and also vertically. The 3rd parameter here is the size. Let's add a size of 16 pixels. And finally, our rotation. We can, for now, just begin setting any rotation, like 0, for example. And let's see what we get in our program. Okay, I forgot something, which was the size of our screen is a bit too small. Size 400, 400. Okay, so here we have our program, and we have 64 squares. How could we move them a little bit down and to the right? Well, the same way we added here this 30, we can add something. I'm gonna add 50 pixels plus this product. This way I'm moving all the rectangles 50 pixels to the right. And you can see now there's some space here. I can do the same with the y value. 50 plus y. And now there's some margin here on the top left. What happens if I increase this value here? X times 40. So now there should be more space horizontally between those rectangles. Okay, now they are not really rotating. Even the function is called draw rotating rectangle because for each frame, each time draw is called, I'm always saying rotation is 0. So let's add a variable at the beginning of the program. Float, I will call it rot, so we don't mix it with this other variable, so you don't get confused. And this is gonna be 0 at the beginning. And then I would use it here. How much the rectangle should be rotated. So it's gonna be rot. And at the end of my draw function, I will increase this a little bit. Rot is rot plus 0.05. So now let's run the program. And it looks very nice, but I have to add here a background call if I want to erase the screen for each time. I added the first line on the draw function. And now I have here these nice rotating rectangles. So now all rectangles are rotating with the same rotation value. We create 64 rectangles, but they all have the same rotation. How could I make the rectangles have a different value for this rotation? So what distinguishes the rectangles on the first column from the second column is the x value. So if I add here the x value to our rotation, now the rectangles on the first column will have a different rotation from the rectangles on the second column. Let's see that out. And we get this really nice wavy effect. We could do the same with the y value. And then The effect will be similar, but going up and down. Or we could even add both. Rotate rot plus X plus Y. We don't know exactly what this is gonna come out, but it's okay because in this case it's not important for us to know exactly which rotation is gonna come out. So now we have this really nice wavy effect. So I suggest now you can change the sizes of the rectangles. You could draw lines instead of rectangles. You can change the width of the lines, the colors. You can change the speed of the rotation. There's many things you can try out. Just go and modify this program to see what you come up with.